Today, I'm going to be walking you through some of my honest thoughts on the AI automation agency model, which I've been a part of for the past 5 months now, since June 2024, when I started my AI agency called AI Solved. And I'm going to be walking you through a few different things. Number one, some of the key business principles that have helped me go from $0 to $10,000 my first 30 days. I'm going to be walking you through some of the processes that I have in place as far as client acquisition goes and how I get clients. I'm going to walk you through my fulfillment process, how I deliver the promises I've made in my sales to my clients, some of the tools and softwares that I use, and as well as some of the unexpected obstacles and problems that I have encountered in my way of building a successful AI automations agency. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, you don't know who I am. I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur. I've been in business since I was 15, 16 years old because I didn't want to go to university. I didn't want to have a normal job and make measly amounts of money and live a normal life. So I had to kind of pave my own path. So I started different businesses on the internet in various timelines. Some of them failed, some of them worked. But back in 2024, in the beginning of this year, I was running a sales agency called Sales on Demand. And the way I was making money was basically by building and selling outbound client acquisition systems to different companies. I was working with agencies, consultants, mostly done for you or done with you online service providers. And one day a video popped up in my YouTube feed of a guy who was breaking down this appointment setting AI chatbot. And I clicked on it, and that's when it struck me and I realized that, okay, this is going to be a threat to my business model very soon, and I would have to learn how to do something like this, because why would a business that optimizes for efficiency and cost reduction would want to hire a team of outbound appointment setters that each take like 10% of each sale when they can have an AI chatbot do the exact same work? And I started learning more and more about AI, automations, chatbots, voice agents, and I realized that I would either have to adapt to how the market is changing and the new technologies that are coming out, or my business would cease to exist. And at the time, my business at its peak, was making me $45,000 a month. That was not happening every month, of course. I had lower months too, like 8,000 or 10,000, 15,000. But in general, it was a very profitable business. So I started learning about AI automations, as I said, and I was in a situation where I would have to follow one of two paths. Number one, I would either continue building the company that I was building with the known risk of this technology becoming a massive threat and taking me out, or two, I would completely pivot my business model because I was seeing a clear trajectory of how things would play out, and I will start a new company, an AI agency, and capitalize on this opportunity. So it was a very difficult decision for me to make. I remember at the time I gave one of my friends a call who was running an SMA, and I told him my plan, and he was like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Who on earth shuts down a profitable business to do something else? He thought it was shiny object syndrome, but I was well over that by that stage. That was something I struggled with when I was younger, but by then I realized that, okay, any business that is going to be successful is going to go through a phase that is not easy, but you have to ride the wave and stick through the ups and downs until you make it work. So it wasn't shiny object syndrome for me. It was a very strategic, clear decision. So it took me a few months to come to that conclusion. But in June 2024, I made that hard decision and I shut down my business. I called like all my team members and my staff, and I told them, hey guys, I'm gonna be shutting this down. I wanna be doing something different. And I was very afraid, man. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, I knew everything is gonna work fine. No, I had no idea. Obviously, I did have the sales skills and the business skills. I was definitely lacking on the technical side of things, but I knew I could learn very quickly, which I did. Now, this is how I ended up in this space, guys. Long story short. So the first thing I wanna do, with that being said, is walk you through some of the key business principles that I think helped me grow very quickly. It's actually very rare that somebody can grow a business from $0 to $10,000 a month within like less than a month, which is what I did. And the reason I was able to do it that quickly is because of a few different things. The first one was because I obsessively focused on revenue generating activities. I didn't even have a website until I was making, like, I had 3 clients before I had a website. And my website was like pretty shit because I set it up with AI. But I obsessively focused on revenue generating activities because I understood that in the beginning of any business, the only thing that matters is getting clients, and everything else is completely irrelevant. So I see a lot of people, they start out a new agency in our space and they focus on doing everything except getting clients. In reality, what matters is your front end, especially in the beginning. Marketing and sales, booking appointments, getting on calls, closing people. This is the only thing you should care about, your outreach and your sales. Everything else, it frankly doesn't matter because it doesn't move the needle forward. People, they want to have their website ready. They build social media accounts of their company on all platforms. They want to draft their contracts. They do all this work, and then they realize that a month goes by or 2 months go by, and then they realize that, okay, shit, now I gotta get clients and I don't know how to do that. Well, that's the only thing that matters, getting clients. So the reason I was able to grow this quickly is because that's the only thing I worked on. So if you work 8 hours a day, there are a lot of different actions that you can spend your time on. You have to filter out the actions that are not gonna directly result in you signing clients and making money. So that's the first thing. Another thing is I made a lot of hard decisions quickly without compromising the quality of those decisions. So that's another thing. I see a lot of people, what they do is they postpone making decisions because they're afraid. And that's basically cowardice, guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've all been at that situation throughout our lives or business careers at certain points. But if you want to grow quickly, you have to also make quality decisions quickly. And on some level or another, you're going to need to learn how to control your fear as well as the rest of your emotional urges. Now, another key principle, I guess, why I was able to grow my agency this quickly, and most of you watching my video, you're still like struggling to get your first clients, is because I put a lot of thought into understanding why businesses buy automations in the first place. And there are 2 routes. When you kind of take the reasons and you break them down, you're going to end up in 2 places. The first one is because they know, like, and trust you. And then the second reason is because they have a painful problem that you can solve. Once you can meet those 2 criteria in a potential client, then they're going to give you their money. So know, like, and trust, I think that's the most important of the 2. If you can get people to know you in your target market, like you, and build a certain level of bond or relationship with them, give them enough value to the point where they trust you, and then you identify their problem or their pain point, which more often than not in our space and with what we're selling is like inefficiencies, high cost, things taking too long to get done, work that is repetitive and boring and people don't want to do and they want to automate. Once you bring up that pain point in them, while they trust you and they know who you are, you got their attention, then it's very easy to sell them anything. And then the third principle is I am constantly focused on improving every single thing that I do in my business. So it's basically an open feedback loop where I start with making an assumption, then I give it a test, then the real world gives me some feedback, and then I iterate. And this is a never-ending process on every single activity that I spend my time doing in my business and in general in my life, because I think this is a mindset, and how you do anything is how you do everything. That applies to pretty much every single thing I do: my YouTube videos, my sales calls, my outreach, my communication, all that stuff. So with that mindset, it becomes very easy to get results because you improve at a pace that other people don't. For most people, it takes too long to get something done because they're afraid of making a bad decision. And then it takes even longer for them to improve once they start doing that thing. Well, for me, it was very simple. Boom, I make a decision, and then every single time I do it, I try to do it better and better and better and better. And that's how you get to a point where you're converting a high number of people on your outreach, on your sales calls, you're making more money, all that stuff. So these, I think, are the 3 or 4 main business principles that have helped me in my agency. Now, I also want to touch on the topic of getting clients. So initially, I tested a bunch of different platforms and methods for getting clients. And keep in mind, I got into this space with an idea already of how getting clients works. So I wasn't a complete beginner. But initially, I tested LinkedIn, email, and obviously YouTube, which I'm still on and I'm never going to stop doing because it's insanely profitable. But I want to compare email and YouTube for a second, because this is the 2 dominating platforms that I'm currently running in order to get leads and appointments for my business. So what I found out is that the leads that come from YouTube, they are more qualified, they have less objections, and the closing rate that I have from YouTube leads is almost 100%. On the other hand, on email is like 20% closing rate. The show up rate is lower as well, because people, they don't care. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you want to set your business in a way. I'm not saying don't focus on outbound channels. I recommend you have 1 or 2 outbound channels that you're pretty much nailed in and they're working for you. But if you want a consistent way, if you want a way to scale, then you're gonna need to figure out a platform or a way to get people reaching out to you. And that's why YouTube is so powerful, because it allows me to do lead acquisition and lead nurturing on a mass scale at the same time. So I may put out a video and then 1,000 people watch it, and out of those 1,000 people, 200 people are business owners, and then they watch my next one and my next one and my next one, and then by the time they reach out to me and they send me a DM, they're pretty much warmed up, they trust me, they know what I stand for, they know my expertise, and then they're ready to give me money. On the other hand, in outbound outreach, you are in a position where you have the disadvantage because you have no leverage. You're the one reaching out to them. You are the one trying to convince them to give you their money. You are the one trying to find their problem. And the whole dynamic is flipped. So strategy is all about putting yourself in a situation where you have as much leverage as possible. And that's why YouTube is so powerful. And if you actually pay attention, what you would notice is that the biggest people in our industry, they are the biggest because they have a YouTube presence. So I would highly recommend to you get on YouTube and you start making videos about your automations or your specific market. Basically show them everything you know how to do for free, and then people are going to start reaching out to you. I think that's the best way to be getting clients long term. And also enjoy the process, because a lot of the outbound channels, like if you sit down and do cold calling for a week, you're pretty much going to burn out, man. Nobody enjoys that stuff, and it's very hard to do. On the other hand, YouTube, you kind of learn to enjoy it and love it over time. So I think it's just a no-brainer. If you run an AI automations agency, there's so much money to be made in this space right now, because there's so much attention surrounding the space from different businesses that if you're not on YouTube, you're pretty much always going to be losing by somebody like me or any other guy who also runs an automations agency and is making YouTube videos. Another thing that I noticed is that the sales skills are way more powerful than technical skills. There are a lot of great people with an engineering background or data analytics background or computer science background in this space right now, which are total nerds when it comes to building solutions for businesses, and they can use all the different tools out there, and they know stuff that I'll never learn how to do because they know coding and all that stuff, which I don't. But at the end of the day, I'm still making more money than them because I know how to sell. They don't know how to sell, and sales is way more powerful than technical skills. So what I recommend you do is you learn both. So you have to understand where your weaknesses lie, and then try to develop your weaknesses to the point where you're a pretty round up, well-balanced, character. Let's say if it was a game, That's how you wanna do it. So if your sales skills are lacking and you have technical skills, and work on your sales skills. If your sales skills are there and you lack on your technical skills, then work on them, because they're both necessary. But in terms of which one is more valuable, sales, because that's the one that gets you paid at the end of the day. Another thing I want to bring up is the different niches that I've worked with and experimented, as well as the sentiment of the market, let's say on AI automation. So I've worked with a lot of businesses, many different niches, and the reason I've worked with so many niches is because I get random people from random businesses reaching out to me all the time because of my YouTube content. So I don't want to leave money on the table. I don't want to say, no, I'm only working with this kind of person or this kind of person. So I pretty much take everybody in, assuming I can help them. And I've worked with the solar industry. I've worked with the real estate industry. I've worked with other online agencies, content creators. I've worked with barber shops, restaurants. So both in person and online companies. And one thing I can tell you for sure is that online businesses, so businesses that are based on the internet, and the internet is involved in their processes, either for getting clients or fulfilling clients, they are way more open to the idea of AI automations. The in-person or brick and mortar businesses, most of them, they're still kind of pretty behind the curve, I would say. They're afraid of AI automations. It's more difficult for them to trust you. They can actually deliver the outcome that they want, and they don't see as much value in it either. So if you're starting out, complete beginner right now, what I will do is, if I was in your shoes, I would focus on targeting online businesses with my outreach, whether that's SaaS companies, SMMAs, sales agencies, staffing companies, consultants, coaches, people who sell done for you service, done with you service. I think these businesses are way easier to close, simply because the sales process, you're starting on a step closer to the sale, because they already see the value in automations. They're already familiar with a lot of the tools that you're going to be using, like Go High Level or Make.com and whatnot. So it's always going to be an easier sale. And don't get me wrong, I think the time is soon going to come where all these brick and mortar businesses, they're also going to get in this space, and they will start seeing the gaps that they have in their processes and their SOPs, and they will start looking for automation experts to help them expedite their process or make them more efficient or reduce cost. Right now, I'm also working with healthcare company. I'm also talking with a guy who owns like in the petrol industry. There are a lot of businesses that are interested in automations in general, but for the most part, I think online-based businesses are easier to close, and that sentiment is also going to be changing as time goes on, as the value of AI agents especially becomes more and more evident. Now, I want to touch on fulfilling clients. So the way my fulfillment process works is 5 different phases. So the first phase is the onboarding phase, where pretty much the moment I sign somebody, I get on a call with them, they fill up a form, I get on a call with them, I gather all the necessary information that I need about the project. Then it's a development phase where I'm actually developing the project. Sometimes, I used to do this more often, but sometimes I would hire like a contractor and pay them some money to work on a part of the project that I'm not really that familiar with, or maybe I don't want to do for some reason. So the onboarding process first, then the development process, which can take anywhere from a week to a month or even longer, depending on the kind of solution that the client needs. Then it's the integration phase, where I basically plug in the automation into their company. And then we go through a timeline of iterations, because we want to test the automation in the real world, see what kind of edge cases exist out there, see what kind of problems we run into, and then solve those problems. And then it's basically the maintenance phase. So I just continue to give them some ongoing support. Part of the reason is not necessarily because they need it. I mean, it's definitely valuable for them. But another reason is because I want people to be on a retainer. It's a much better business model. Initially, I was closing people for a one-off payment, and then I realized that shit, like second month I have to close more people to make the same money. So I started introducing a retainer model into my payment structure, which also helped keeping my revenue up. And another thing is that with AI automations, you kind of infiltrate the systems of a business so they can grow very dependent on you if you play it right, which means that you're going to have very low churn. But this is how my fulfillment process works from a high level, at least: onboarding, development, integration, iteration, and then the maintenance phase. Super important. I also want to touch on upselling clients and increasing their lifetime value, because I think any business, if you want to see whether or not it's healthy, a great indicator will be how many referrals that business is getting. So if you can get to the point where you're turning one client into two clients, then you're never going to run out of money or clients, because you kind of crack the code and you're printing money out of thin air. So this is what I'm currently trying to do. I'm trying to maximize the amount of referrals that I'm getting from my existing clients, because think about it, man. It's basically you're doubling your output with the same input. And it's also a great indicator that you're doing a good job and people wanna work with you more. They wanna recommend you to their friends or people they know in their industry. And oftentimes all you need is one client. If you can get your very first client and you can do a really good job for them, and that doesn't necessarily mean that what you're gonna sell them is gonna work 100% great, although that's perfect. What I mean by doing a great job is you offer them a great experience in terms of communication. If you're closely communicating with your clients, they'll never get to the point where they think, oh, I don't enjoy working with this guy, because they see you're putting in the effort, even if they're not necessarily getting the exact same result that you promised them. That's obviously going to be the best of both worlds. But in any case, if you can get to that point where you're delivering such a great experience to your first client, then he's going to recommend you to his friends, people he knows, and then that one client within the span of a few months can become 10 clients or 15 clients. So getting your first client, yes, is going to be the most difficult thing, but at the same time, if you play it right, then you don't have to worry about getting more clients from in the same way you got your first client, although you should definitely keep that running, because that first client can recommend you to other people. And I've also heard cases where let's say you close a client, an agency client, they would propose to you to white label or outsource your services for their own clients. So that's like even a more crazy scenario. In terms of the tools that I'm using, I break down the tools on the business tools or business development tools I use for sales, outreach, and then also break them down in development tools or automation tools. As far as the my overall tool stack, guys, I wanna keep running a very lean business. That's why I don't have any employees at this point, although I'm probably gonna need to hire some people if I want to scale past the revenue mark where I'm at right now. But for development, I mostly use N8N for AI agents, make.com for more simpler traditional automations. I use OneInbox for AI voice agents, although I've also built some on Vapi, and chatbots, although I think I only sold like one AI chatbot. I think it's kind of like a saturated market almost, but for that I use VoiceFlow AI. And then obviously all the related tools that go with building the automations, like a vector database on Pinecone, the server hosting for N8N agents, you name it. But these are the main tools that I use for building automations. And then as far as business tools go, when it comes to getting clients, then I'm using a bunch of Google products, so Google Drive, a bunch of emails and domains, GHL, which I'm kind of new to GHL, by the way, but it's very interesting. I'm using Snovio for my cold outreach when it comes to email. I've also used Dripify for LinkedIn outreach, Sales Navigator. It's a whole list, guys. I'm not going to get into everything, but I'm using Zoom to take on my sales calls, Canva. I'm using CapCut to edit my videos. And the reason I'm bringing that, the video side of things here is because, well, YouTube is also part of my agency as well, because I'm using it to get clients. My software expenses, at least my fixed software expenses, not accounting any usage, probably ranks up to like $600-700 a month, which might sound kind of a lot, but if you consider that software does most of the job, and I'm probably using some like unnecessary stuff as well, but I don't really care, it doesn't matter. I mean, I could run certain tools for free or run them like locally and not pay as much for them, but I'm okay with that. And the last thing I want to touch on, which I know this is probably going to be a long video, I don't even know if there's anybody watching up to this point, but it doesn't matter. I think this kind of videos are more valuable to people. I want to break down some of the unexpected setbacks that I have encountered. The first one was hiring bad contractors, because my first month in business, actually my first couple of months, my technical skills were really lacking. And although I knew how to get people to pay me, I didn't know how to build anything, right? Or I knew very little about it, so I had to hire contractors. And yeah, you have to be very careful when it comes to hiring contractors. Most of them, they're gonna overcharge you. If you don't really have like technical expertise, they're gonna confuse you. They might even take advantage of you. So I'm very hard with contractors I work with. I'm hard on them, whether it comes to people who create a thumbnail for my video or edit a video of mine, or somebody who's gonna build, let's say, set up the prompt or the integrations for a certain solution. I'm always very careful with them. I always try to negotiate them down to the penny, because they can be pretty ruthless, man. Let me tell you, if you let a contractor have his will, he's gonna wreck you, man. I'm telling you. So be very careful when it comes to hiring contractors. Eventually, you're gonna burn through 5-10 of them, and you're gonna find one that you sort of enjoy working together. Now, for me, the reason I had so many bad experiences with them was because I was in a big hurry to get somebody to build my client's project. So I didn't have the time to vet and qualify all the right ones. I just got on Fiverr, like sent a bunch of DMs on a Facebook group, on the different contracting websites or freelancing websites, and that's why I had a bad experience. But ideally, if you can build something yourself, that's great. If you need help, try to find somebody who's good. Try to find people that have been doing this for a long time, way longer than you, people who know a bunch of stuff, worked on different projects, even full stack developments, and always try to negotiate the prices down to the penny, because most of them, they're more than open to it. And also don't look for the cheapest one, because the cheapest one also means you're getting the lowest quality one as well. Another obstacle that I faced was staying up to date with AI news and all the tools that are coming out. This is such a crazy space right now, guys. There's so many things they're coming out every single day. Tools are having updates. New news are coming out about OpenAI releasing GPT 1.0 and then Llama 3.2, whatever. Different softwares that come out, SaaS companies that get started. It's crazy. So for me, it's very hard to stay up to date with all the news, and also because I am making content on it, I have to be very like on the edge of it. I've heard some other people, they stop like watching AI news and whatnot, but for me, I'm just so interested in it, and I also understand that the more you know about the space, the more potential opportunities you can capitalize on. So that's hard, man. You have to be spending at least an hour a day or something reading about all the stuff that are coming out. It's just crazy. And on top of that, you also need to be learning how to use all the tools as well. Although if you know how to use the basic ones, like you know how to do Make and Vapi or something, then you kind of get into the mindset and the process of thinking about automations, and it kind of becomes very simple from there. At least that's what I found. And then another obstacle that I have encountered, which some people might say, it's not really a problem, but I think not knowing how to code puts you in in an inferior position to someone who does know how to code, because yes, most tools out there, there are no code tools, low code tools and whatnot, but I've encountered many instances where knowing how to code would actually help me a lot. I think this is gonna I think listen, coding is, I think, is always going to be valuable, at least for the foreseeable future, but I think it's getting less and less valuable as time goes on, because English can pretty much do the same job, but we're not quite there yet. So if you know how to code, it's better. I have considered sitting down and trying to learn how to code in Python and JavaScript and all that, but I'm not really in the mood for it, man, to be honest with you. I have so many stuff that I'm working on. Yeah. Anyways, guys, this was a video. One thing I wanna also share with you is, in my free school community, I launched basically an automation challenge called Wizard Automation. That basically, I give you every single week, I give you like one topic of an AI agent or an automation that you can build, and then the winner takes cash prizes, referrals, gets featured on my channel and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, make sure you join it. I'm gonna leave a link below. If you enjoyed this video, got value out of it, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another one.